Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Philip Macmillan. I've been speaking about COVID 19 and autoimmunity around the disease since early 2020. And it's with great sadness as the whole of the United Kingdom and probably the world feels the shock of the recent announcement by our future Queen. I ask the question whether or not we're doing enough. Are we doing enough for the Queen, the future Queen, through research? Or is this now an opportunity for people who have either other agendas to walk around the issues that we're facing? I want to put something in context here, and it's important for people to understand my perspective. I've always mentioned an elephant in the room, and there is. Many people don't want to talk about it. And by the end of this presentation here, you will see a little bit more about what it is that we need to address and why this is not just a simple joke, but it is extremely serious. One of the opportunities that has come up through this situation, because even within the situation of a storm and a dark cloud, there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that we have the opportunity for someone with tremendous influence and reach across the world to advocate for those who have no voice. And at the moment, the concept of the elephant in the room really needs serious addressing. Now, I am certain about this because I have done this presentation and this course some time ago in anticipation of what I know is likely to happen based on the science. So, this is not a hope. This is a fear. This is a concern that if we don't do something, we will be significantly affected by it. So I'll take you through some of the points about why this is so important and critically, why we need advocates, why we need people like Kate or the future queen, why we need the current king to stand up and represent the people, the population, in terms of trying to understand what is going on. Additionally, you have to be wise about what you see in the news and recognize when people are trying to distract you. And my question is, and I'll be coming to it, how do you hide an elephant in the room? So we'll come back to that in just a second. But first, I want to remind you, if you're interested to understand why my prediction was like this, it was around a few points that I had in regards to the course. Here is the general principles with regards to cancer is that it's not just cancer. There are some people who have a genetic predisposition, but even within that genetic predisposition, there are multiple layers protecting the body from cancerous cells. One of them, and a very important one, is around immunity. And so it's not simply that somebody has a genetic risk and they end up with cancer. There are a lot of factors that can impact on it. And so when we consider younger people who are getting cancer, it usually means a failure of all these levels. And we really then have to ask, especially in the context where there may not be a genetic link, how can there be such a significant failure of the protections that exist? That's part of the thorough research that needs to be done for the future queen. We need to understand not just what is affecting her, but what is affecting very many people across the world. Now, when I looked at it, and this bit of information is probably only going to be available in the course because it's now been changed the way that it was measured right after I collected it. They changed the dates in about September or October, where they no longer measure this bit of data. So I happened to catch a period of time over past 4 years, and you can see here in dark blue is 2023. And you can see in almost every one of those periods of time, the dark blue is standing out. Critically, I didn't look for just deaths. I was looking at first treatment. When was a diagnosis made? And what we're seeing here is a significant rise across the board. This was just total and not necessarily broken down by age group. Now, it brings us to the point about why is it that this question that most people are observing around them, everybody's talking about it. They know somebody else who they know who has had cancer, late stage cancer. And everybody's trying to remember, is this how it was always? Is it just that I didn't notice it? What is different this time around? And what we're facing is people trying to hide an elephant in the room. So, what they'll say, so this here is the elephant in the room, and people will mention multiple things: climate change, obesity, change in diet, alcohol, smoking, lots of things that, as far as they're concerned, could be the cause of what is happening. But they'll not actually make reference to one of the most significant factors with regards to what is occurring. And when I looked at what I anticipated, there are potential links, all very, very important, that need to be addressed. All potential because the appropriate research has not yet been done. And let me give you a warning. Some people will say there is no evidence. Well, there's no evidence because they haven't looked, not because they know. You have to know when people are trying to distract you from what is an important issue. Let me give you another example here. This is very important. It catches you out because you think it's saying what you think it's saying, but it's not. This here is talking about cancer, number of diagnoses in Northern Ireland, 18 to 49 age bracket, up by 20%. That's the headline. This is on the BBC News today. But guess what? When you scroll down, they make it very clear that they are talking about people 18 to 49 between the year of 1993 to 2019. Why would they have stopped at 2019? It's because they are trying to say to you that cancer in this age group has always been on the rise. Since 1993, they're saying there's a 20% increase. And so, therefore, what you are noticing or hearing about is just part of that trend. That's effectively what they're saying. And so, they're saying that the things you are observing and the things you are hearing are not actually real. They're just perceptions. They're not based on reality. So let me show you how you hide an elephant in the room. You have three kinds of people. The first group are usually the experts that you would trust. The experts who are actively pointing at other things, the donuts, the obesity. They'll talk about climate change. They'll talk about the fact that you're eating too much junk food. They'll talk about the fact that you're drinking too much alcohol around the lockdown. They'll talk about the fact that you are smoking too much. All of these things are the contributing factors to why you are seeing something that you don't fully understand. Don't worry about it, they've got it under control. That's one group. There's another group who you have to be aware of. And the other group is doing something else. What they are doing here is that they're closing their eyes. They're not saying anything. They have no opinion on it. And so, because there is silence on it, people think, oh, it must be okay. Because if there was an issue, those people would certainly be talking about it. And so, again, the general public says, well, we therefore assume there are no problems. And then there is a third group. And the third group gets called all kinds of names. The third group is there. They are pointing at the elephant and they're saying, there is an elephant here. I don't know what you are doing, but I can see an elephant. And no matter how much you cover the elephant, it's still there. It's knocking over chairs. It's stepping on things. How can you not see the elephant in the room? That's where we are today. What we need are high profile advocates, people who recognize the seriousness of what we're facing and are willing to make their voice heard. I can't tell you absolutely what exactly is the cause, but I can tell you something is not right. And as I said, if you do even the basic research, and here's an important part again in terms of the presentation, because when I looked at the research, one of the big issues is about immunity. And I have highlighted that in terms of specific immune cells, in the course, we're talking about specific cancer promoting macrophages. And one of the things that I've been concerned about from the research is that these macrophages, because they're overactivated, could be one of the drivers for some of the patterns that we're seeing with regards to cancer. Another big one that people don't want to talk about is this huge rise in IgG4. And IgG4 is a promoter of specific kinds of cancer. And we know that this occurs. How can we ignore this? Lymphomas should rise, pancreatic cancer should rise. This is just the science. It's not made up, it's just what you expect. But as I said, we are in a time where there doesn't seem to be the advocacy that is needed. And if there's one thing that is for certain, please, our future queen, know that there are people who are advocating for more research, thorough research, where everything is on the table. Nothing is off the table because we don't assume that something cannot be the cause. That's not proper science. That's politics. So we are at a standoff at the moment. And my biggest worry is that if we don't very soon get the necessary people and powers that be to make a difference, the impact is going to be horrendous. Because here is the reality from a clinical point of view, there is little you can do with first presentation of advanced stage cancer. So we need to know who is at risk, because it's clearly not just about genetics. Is there an immune failure risk? Is it about toxins? What is it? We need the research to be done, not tomorrow. It should have been done already. We need advocates. And the people who have been distracting should not be the ones who are leading it. Sadly, the people who are silent should not be the ones who are leading it. Only the ones who have genuinely been putting everything on the line to protect and advocate for patients, because that's where we are today. We hope that we can make a better world by truly looking at the science. Have a great evening.